So what's going on guys, Kaids here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the highest DPS Luna build in the first Descendant. So in this build guide we will look into the best weapons and modules that you want to get. Then I will explain every single skill and show you the best reactor and external components. And then lastly we will take a closer look at the gameplay and weapon mods, so you would know the reason behind every single build choice and what exactly will give us insane damage and much more. So, if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So then moving over to the Luna DPS build, and unlike other support characters, she has really good base stats. So by using one specific module, we will be able to completely transform her and make her even more powerful. A lot of players like Luna because she is the best support with insane buffs that in group play can actually give the rest of your group more DPS rather than just having another DPS player. So then with that said, now let's take a look at our modules. And for the first one, we have the Noise Surge, which transforms all of our Luna skills to combat skills. And when we perform the notes in the rhythm, it will unleash a powerful AoE attack. And when the Inspiration Gauge is full, it will summon a moving stage, where she dances to recover mana and shields. Then the Long Distance Maneuvering, which again, the same as for the first build, modifies the grappling hook to 25 meters. But the base charge time changes to 6 seconds and the time gets increased by 20%. This will also increase your max module capacity. Then the Emergency Measures, which increases skill critical hit rate by 16% and skill critical hit damage by 7%. Then Skill Concentration, which increases skill critical hit damage by 14%. Then Focus on Singular, that increases singular skill power modifier by 17% and reduces skill cooldowns by 6%. Then Increased HP, that increases max HP by 22%. Then Maximize Skill, which increases skill power by 22% and skill cooldowns by 13%. And finally the Maximize Power, for the same 25% skill power increase and skill cooldowns by 13%. So by us using the Noise Surge, we will completely change the Luna from support to a damage dealer. And as long as you use this one simple module, then you can either way focus on making your skills as powerful as possible, or perhaps becoming a bit more tankier. Then next up, let's take a look at the best weapons and mods that we should use. So for the first one, we have the Thunder Cage Submachine Gun. This is currently the #1 meta weapon that doesn't need any introductions, but basically we will get up to 700k damage. And I've seen even my other friends using the exact setup, but having everything upgraded to the max and getting 800 or even 900k DPS. So then, the way you get this insane weapon is by first of all reaching Mastery Rank 1, then obtaining the Thunder Cage Blueprint, Thunder Cage Nanotube, Thunder Cage Polymer Synxium, and the Thunder Cage Synthetic Fiber from various battlefield missions across the sterile land. And then afterwards, take those 4 Thunder Cage materials to the Anais in Albion and pay 100k to start the research. And then when you get it, for mods we wanna go with the Rifling Reinforcement, that increases our 80k by 12%. Then Action and Reaction, which increases 80k by 15% but increases recoil by 5%. Then Weak Point Insight, that increases weak point damage by 5% and critical hit rate by 1%. Then Better Insight, that increases critical hit rate by 10%. Then Consume Magazine, that increases reload time modifier by 6% and weak point damage by 2%. Then Better Concentration, that increases critical hit damage by 9%. Then Fire Rate Concentration, that increases fire rate by 8% and critical hit damage by 3.5%. Then Concentration Priority, for 8% critical hit damage increase, but your reload time modifier gets decreased by 8%. And finally the Chill Enhancement, that adds chill 80k equal to 8% of your weapon's 80k. And as you can see, because of our setup, we can do 500,000 DPS, and it is because we are using most optimized mods, which are all almost maxed out and are made to stack as much 80k, crit damage and crit rate as humanly possible. These numbers will vary on your specific reactor, your Descendant modules, and how high or low your weapon levels and upgrades are. And then for the second weapon, we have the Nazester's Devotion, and the way you get it is again by crafting it. And you must have 1 Nazester's Devotion Polymer Synxium, 1 Synthetic Fiber, 1 Nano, and 1 Blueprint. And all of them you can farm either way in Vespers, in Timberfall, and in the Ancient Tree mission. This weapon is very easy to get, so if you're level 40 by now, most of you should have it at least in your inventory. And then when you got it, for mods we wanna go with the action and reaction. That increases ADK by 15% and recoil by 5%. Then bullet rain, that increases fire rate by 8% and ADK by 1%. Then rifling reinforcement, that increases ADK by 12%. Then weak point sight, that increases weak point damage by 10%, but reduces accuracy by -5%. Then better concentration, that increases critical hit damage by 9%. Then target detection, that increases critical hit damage by 5% and weak point damage by 2%. Then aiming compensation, for 8% accuracy and 5% critical hit damage. Then weak point detection, that increases weak point damage by 5% and ADK by 1%. Then weak point expansion, that on weak point hit will increase your weak point damage by 35%. And finally the better insight, for 10% critical hit rate. As for most weapons, we use the mods to increase our weapon's damage, and because of our unique ability, this gives us better weak point damage, so we try to focus with our mods to increase its damage even more for that one-shot capability. And then last but not the least, let me show you how can you upgrade these weapons. So when you craft it, you will start at level 1, but by using the repair station you can upgrade it. So that's why I recommend break down your useless weapons rather than selling them, because credits are way easier to earn than the materials. So keep getting materials and upgrading your weapon, and on top of that, you can even use the weapon readjustment mechanic, which allows you to use the workbench to reroll your weapon stats. And the stats that we want to get are crit damage, crit rate, ADK increase and weak point damage. And finally, the last third way to improve our weapon is by leveling up our unique ability. So unlike the other mechanics, we won't have to get a crafting material, but actually, the way to enhance it is by crafting a duplicate. Then take that one level gun duplicate to the workbench and sacrifice it to upgrade your unique ability to a stronger version, and it's that simple. Then next up, let's go over to the base reactor and external components. So your reactor is very important item that determines your skill damage and can also include extra modifiers that buff certain aspects of your build. I recommend prioritizing using reactor with the highest skill power and a sub-attack power. Specifically, my best job that I got is this materialized mechanics reactor with the thunder cage condition. And then as for your external components, they're even more of an RNG, at least until you've played the game for long enough to find every single possible combination with a good stat roll. So for our build specifically, I recommend to get the Annihilation Auxiliary Power that increases our max HP and defenses. And because we're using all 4 set pieces, so we get 6% skill duration, and our weapon's ADK increases depending on your max HP lost. Then next up we have the Annihilation Sensor for defenses and shield recovery. Then Annihilation Memory for increased max shields and HP. And lastly, the Annihilation Processor for even more max HP. And finally, let's take a look at our skills and when we should use them. So the first passive skill is called the Improvisation, which when we use any skill, it increases Inspiration Gauge, which allows you to use the enhanced skills. Then our first active skill is the Stage Presence, which changes our weapon to a unique pistol. And then when we perform the notes in time to the music by using skills or hitting the monsters, then our buffs will stack and increase the skill power modifier. Then the second one is Exciting Act, which when we play upbeat music, it increases the skill power modifier for our character and the rest of our allies. Gaining this enhanced effect increases the skill power modifier even more, and it also increases the skill critical hit rate and damage of allies. Then the Relaxing Act, which when we play relaxing music, hitting the enemies with a note grants us an effect that instantly recovers the mana for our whole group, and gaining the enhanced effect increases mana recovery and reduces skill cost as well. And finally, we have the Cheerful Act, which when we play delightful music, hitting the enemy with a note increases Inspiration Gauge and decreases the skill cooldowns of allies. Gaining the enhanced effect increases the Inspiration Gauge even more and immediately resets the cooldowns of all allies. And then last but not the least, if you guys are struggling with unlocking Luna, then let's look into the fastest way to get her. So to craft her, you will need 1 Luna Enhanced Cell, 1 Luna Stabilizer, 1 Spiral Cataclysm, and 1 Luna Code with 400k credits. So like for most Descendants, there are many places you can farm this, but personally the best places that worked for me were these spots in the Agna Desert and the Intercept battles on hard mode. And that's about it. So with that said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or suggestions, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and not miss any more amazing content. With that said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in the next one, so take it easy, peace.